Yeah, there's a recording in progress.
Yes.
All
All
right. We are both bespeckled
we
today.
are. We are bespeckled. We
Bespeckled?
are both on the mend. We are both bespeckled. And it's been a week. It's been thanks for hanging in there while we took a week off to get better.
It's been a long week.
A very long week. But I'm Erin with the fucked up blown out knee.
I'm Megan. I have glasses and I look like Sophia from the Golden Girls. And that's how I feel about it.
Yes.
Meh.
And this is the first ever long distance utterly unrelated episode. So we're playing with Zoom to see if it'll be a good recording. So if it's not our usual 100% top quality, you'll know it's because we're tweaking our audio. So
That's true. As in Erin is, because I don't know how to do any of it. Not my thing.
I know just enough to get us to sound like we know what we're doing.
That's awesome. That's a lot more than I know.
So what are we doing today?
So I decided to cut it all down. I was gonna do like this master fucking thesis about the Mandela effect, and I was gonna tie the last topic, the many worlds theory, many worlds interpretation, into the Mandela effect. And like, I mean, I still will, like, I still have like one card that's like the fucking link. But for the most part, I'm actually going to investigate kind of like the effects of memory a little bit. I'm going to go into memory in another episode. But yeah, we're mainly, honestly, today we're just going to have fun with it. We're just going to do, instead of a crash course quantum suicide. Oh, you can't see it.
Oh no, we can't see.
Oh no.
There we go.
It's mirrored, but you know what I mean. Instead of like crash course quantum suicide, this time we're just gonna go more memory is fucking faulty.
Yes.
Um
And actually we can see it the right way when you hold it up like that. So
oh, you can?
yeah,
Good.
I could read it.
What am I saying? What's this say?
Memory is fucking faulty, and then there's a number 2 with a circle. I can read that all the way from my perch here above San Francisco.
That's fucking crazy. Yeah, I can read that all the way from Vincent Price's Catatorium.
Catatorium. Oh my god, in my new book, I use the word comatorium 3,700 times. Yeah. My word
That's a
document
lot.
let me know that, like, you're not spelling that word right. I'm like, yeah, because it's a word that I made up. No, it's not a word I made up. It's a word I copied from the kids in the hall, but it was the word that I needed. Yeah, comatorium.
Man, 3,700. That's more words than I say.
Well, and I was bummed out because I'm at 40,000 words when I sent it off to my editor, and normally it should be at least double that to be a book. And so I'm like, I know I've got.
But you're at 40,000 words, and 3,700 of those words are comatorium.
I know, right? Yep. There's a lot of memory stuff in my book too.
There's a comatorium in the house, a comatorium with a mouse, a comatorium with a bear. 5 comatoriums. Who fucking cares?
Impromptu poetry. I love it.
Yeah, I was a hella weird goth kid, so I'm real good at poetry.
Me too. Me too. So I had a dream last night that I had some sweet ass earbuds like you currently have in. Some like AirPods,
Awesome.
and they didn't hurt, and they were super nice, and I was like walking around. I had my AirPods in, and then I woke up and realized that I didn't have them, and I was sad.
Aw.
Yours look really cool.
Dude, I have like 8 extra pairs of these.
Really?
Yeah, they're just not compatible with your phone.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's
Because
what I
they're
ran into.
Samsung.
Yeah, I bought like an $8 pair from Walmart and they don't work. Surprise, surprise, they don't work. Ooh, I had it. That's weird. I'm a human thumb.
You've got you've got a floating microphone with a sock on it.
Yes. These were my favorite socks for a long time too. So like this one has a little hole in the toe.
Did you hobble your way down to the studio or did you bring it upstairs?
I made Dave go get it. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I didn't. I promise I didn't. Yes,
Good.
I blew out my knee trying to bring my
Want to tell him how?
yeah, I was bringing apple slices to my youngest for a nice little snack, and one of my chubby feet hit a very slippery fleece Minecraft blanket on my hardwood floors, and I was telling Megan my legs went whoop, and then this one went crunch, and then I went thump, and then I hit my head, and I laid there screaming so loud that Wolfie burst into tears and ran from the room going, Daddy. I scared the shit out of him when I fell. So yeah, I blew my bad knee out, and it was like 6 years ago when I blew my knee out the first time, and that's because I was trying to get some M&Ms from under the couch. Hi, Wolfie. Yeah, I was trying to dig some. I was bending down, like I was getting down on both knees so I could get under the couch and get some M&Ms to eat. I know it sounds really bad, but I dropped them the night before, and so I knew they were under there, and I was like, "Oh, floor snacks!" And as I as I bent my knee to like get down on the ground, it went snap, and I crumpled to the floor and just like howling in pain. I don't know why. I have no idea why. And I was fucked for like a month and a half. I think I had to go to physical therapy. Yeah, it was.
At least you had snacks while you were down there writhing in pain.
It's true. And DJ was like maybe 3. I think he was 2. And he was like, Mama. And I'm going, ah. It was horrible. Oh, it was so bad. I laid on the couch for 4 weeks and watched Tom Hardy movies. Every Tom Hardy movie there was.
Damn.
Yeah, I swore that he was going to heal me through osmosis.
Did he?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, because I eventually got better, and my leg didn't have to be amputated or anything. So I feel like he did achieve his purpose.
I would have just watched Bronson on repeat.
Oh, that was the top contender. That's so good. They're all so good. So I bought Venom 2, and it's just been sitting in my like, you bought it, you should watch it. And I'm like, I can't do it. I haven't watched it yet.
Really?
I haven't watched it yet. I need to.
I didn't think it was all that bad.
See, that's
like Nick really didn't like it, but I thought it was okay.
Well, like you said, he was pretty hungry too, right?
Yeah, he hadn't eaten yet.
Yeah, I feel like if there's something that's like halfway okay and you're hungry, it's probably going to seem like dog shit. But yeah, I'm like, I haven't watched it yet. I've literally been on the couch watching everything but Venom 2.
Yeah, honestly, man, it was as good as I expected it to be. I didn't go into it expecting some fucking masterpiece.
That's probably for
which
the best.
I guess Nick did.
He was like, all right, Oscar time. I know it. This is going to be the one.
Yeah. He genuinely must have thought that, because I mean, I don't know, man. I saw the first one and it was not very good.
I laughed a lot, but I don't know if it was supposed to be funny.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was okay. Tom Hardy's American accent, as we've discussed before, is not good.
No, leaves something to be desired. This time I've been watching Tom Hiddleston movies. It's not healing me through osmosis. So now I'm back to Discovery Plus and its plethora of paranormal and haunted investigator shows, and that's what I'm doing now.
Hell yeah.
Crimson Peak I think might be his best. The Loki series was really good.
I still need to watch that. I've seen like one episode. I liked it though.
It's so funny you haven't watched it, especially because of what we're discussing. But like, I don't know. I feel like his body of work is best encompassed by like those two things, and I should have stopped there. Oh, and Crimson Peak, of course. And I should have just stopped there because everything else has been a letdown. Not that he's not a good actor, it's just like it's not great material. I'm like, wah, wah. But I did download an audiobook that he narrates, and his voice is very very soothing, and that's been doing it for me. Here, I'll cut this out because I don't, we don't have rights to or anything, but his voice is very nice. But yeah, it's this shitty.
There had been no obvious beginning, no point beyond which their lives had moved into a clearly more sinister dimension.
Like, I can sleep to that shit. So
Man, he's got a fancy voice.
he does, right? Like so he's doing some good, but I don't know. It's not the same this time.
His voice is like the opposite of Bill Burr. I like Bill Burr, but could you imagine narrating an audiobook?
Oh my God, be all screaming in New York.
So, okay. When I think it was when Nick and I were living in Portland, like before Moses Lake, he was being really fucking aggro. And I was like, what in the fuck is wrong with you, man? Because he was like yelling all the time. I was like, what the fuck is wrong, dude? Finally, we figured out it's because he's kind of impressionable and he was listening to a lot of Bill Burr comedy, like on his drives.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I was like, why the fuck are you yelling at me all the time? He was listening to too much Bill Burr and he was really like feeling himself about it.
It makes sense because when I listen to, even when I like, the new season of F is for Family is out now.
Yeah, I know. We watched it all.
Oh, it's so good. I love it. And even when I watch that, I get like, well, shut the fuck up. I'll put you through the fucking wall.
Like Nick's favorite thing is I can build walls from now to eternity. I still wouldn't have enough walls to fucking throw you through.
Yes. Oh, it's so good. It's such a good show. I'm sad this is their last season because it's very good.
It's really good. Yeah, I absolutely enjoy it. I really like Bill Burr.
Me too.
I think that he's cool.
Me too. And he has, you know what? Kudos to him for not getting canceled. Like there's some dudes that just seem like as comedians, they could go one way or the other. And like Kyle Kinane, never been canceled, never will be, never pulled his dick out to people, but he's one of those comedians that, like, because of his material, you're like, well, it could go either way. Watch, he'll get canceled next week or something. But like there's just some comedians that I thoroughly enjoy. Jim Jeffries, like, I love that he's never been
how
canceled.
the fuck, how though?
I know. Well, I think he doesn't pull his dick out.
That too. I think that with Jim Jeffries, it's almost kind of like there's a lesser known comedian named Joey Coco Diaz, and he's super fucking hilarious.
Oh.
He kind of runs in the Joe Rogan circle. But Joey Diaz is fucking hilarious. And I think that maybe Jim Jeffries and Joey Diaz kind of have this same like uncancelable thing, because it's like, if you pick any 30 seconds from any one of their sets ever, you're gonna get a wealth of shit that most people would get canceled over.
Yeah, totally.
But they're just so straightforward with it. Like, and I mean, they're not like racist. Like, they punch down, like they make fun of racists and shit. So I think maybe that's part of it too.
I think so. I think also it's because it's very, what's the word?
Or I don't mean punch down, they punch up. Well, I don't know. They punch at racists.
Yes.
I don't know where.
And I think they're very self-deprecating, and they're very like just out there. They're not trying to hide it. They're not trying to be like, oh, I never said the word cunt, or I've never said anything racist. They just say all the things, and they're like, this is me. It's like, that's when you run into trouble, is when you're like, no, I never did that. I never said that. I would never. And like, you did. Like, yeah.
Like, they tried to cancel, I don't know who the proverbial they are, but somebody tried to cancel Joey Diaz, like, I don't know, maybe like 3 months ago. And he was like, yeah, like, I've been nothing but honest about that situation. Yeah, it was a fucking stupid situation. Yeah, my wife knows all about it. Yeah, like, it's all concerned parties know everything about it. Like, what are you trying to do? It was almost like you remember, like 1998 or something, when David Letterman had slept with like an intern or an office worker, or like somebody who he worked with in some capacity or another.
Yeah.
and they were like gonna blackmail him. And so like that night on live TV, he just came out and he was like, hey, so I cheated on my wife and it was with this person and they're trying to blackmail me about it and they can go fuck themselves. Cards on the table, microphone has been dropped. Fuck you.
Yes, I remember
That
that.
was, yeah, that was kind of badass. I
that
saw
was
that
good.
live. I was like, whoa, okay.
He took his power back, and I'm by no means am I a David Letterman fan. I think he's lecherous and disgusting, especially a lot of the things that have popped up lately where he's like, I think he was like sniffing Jennifer Aniston, and like, I don't know, he's had very problematic moments, but
I
in that
probably would
time,
have. I don't know, man. If I hug celebrities for a living, I'm gonna get like a really deep whiff of them.
oh yeah.
I
Yeah,
just am. I'm a creep.
yeah, me too.
He
But
probably
like,
smells like herbal essences.
oh, I bet. I love herbal. I love the OG, the pink one with the roses on it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's probably the one that she smells like. Like not anymore, but back then,
yeah.
probably.
I bet
Now
she
she
still
probably smells
smells.
like rich people stuff.
Yeah, she probably smells like perfume I don't even know exists because it's so expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff that we can never pronounce.
Yeah, and she
Wouldn't it be funny
probably.
if she just wore Tommy Girl?
Oh my god, that'd be hilarious.
Well, you smell like
Oh
Clinique
shit.
Happy. Okay. You're
Yeah.
really leaning into those 90s vibes.
She's amazing. Oh, she's so cool. So is she, I hope she's not affected by our topic today because
I was just gonna say
that
that
would make me
maybe.
sad.
I mean, I don't honestly think that she is, but she might be. So check this out. I only made a few cards today. We're gonna try to govern ourselves. Mandela Effect, quick stats.
Yes.
So we're just gonna dive on in after our 20 minutes of banter. I don't know if you can call that diving on in. So the term the Mandela Effect was coined by, oddly enough, a paranormal investigator named Fiona Broom in 2009. And I want to say that her website went up right around 2016. I could be wrong on that.
It's a great name.
But isn't it though? Yeah. So are you familiar at all with Fiona Broom? I know that you're like into a lot of paranormal investigating stuff.
I've never heard of her before. I'm sad to admit that.
So this whole thing was coined, she was at Dragon Con in 2009.
Yes. Sorry, I have a shirt from there.
Oh, no worries. She was on the panel of speakers about something or other, paranormal stuff, I presume. And so she was sitting backstage, and she and the security guard, whose name differs, they were talking just about like random shit, and she had just, I mean, like a few weeks prior learned that Nelson Mandela at that point in time was still alive. And she was like, oh, that's weird. I thought he died in like 1989. And somehow they were, talking, and that came up, and he was like, oh my God, that's so weird. Like me and a couple other panelists also kind of think that, isn't that strange that we're all misremembering things in the same way? And so that's the characteristic of the Mandela Effect, is not just simply that nobody can pronounce Benedict Cumberbatch. Well, that was a good example. It's not simply that nobody can pronounce Benedict Cumberbatch's name correctly, but that if everybody was mispronouncing it in the same way. So if everyone was calling him like Benedict Cumberhatch, but yeah, or something, but everybody was like solidly like, no, that's what the fuck is. Like if we all collectively were like, this is your name, but with less intention, less just force and bullying. That would be bullying at that point. Here's your fucking name.
We can't say your real name. You are this now.
Yeah, your name's Ryan Johnson now. So cope with that. Here's an American name. Yeah. So yeah, it's whenever people misremember things in the same way.
Like
So
collectively?
collectively, yes. So I think that a good example, one of the more pertinent right now examples, because it's the Mandela effect kind of goes in and out of vogue. I mean, it has for the last roughly 6-7 years, where it'll pop up and people will be like, oh yeah, the Mandela effect, I remember that. And then like it'll go back into relative obscurity until somebody else digs it up or finds a new one. So the most recent one that one of my nibblings told me about was so okay, you know the stuffing that you eat
Mm-hmm.
during the holiday season, during like Thanksgiving and shit.
Yeah. There's only the one
Okay.
in the box. Yeah.
Yeah, what's that one called?
Stovetop.
Okay, what brand?
Stofers, right?
No.
What?
The fucking brand is Stovetop.
What? I can, in my brain, I can see the little logo
Yeah.
in the corner. What? That's crazy.
Yeah, shit like that. So that's the one that kind of has popped back up and made people be like, oh yeah, the Mandela effect. That shit's weird, right? So the I had asked you in that specific way because memories are fucking faulty. And we as humans, our brains are very fucking plastic, which isn't what one would intuitively think that means. Our brains are very fucking malleable. And our memories, especially, our memories are so fucking easy to fuck with. So, for instance, by simply changing like one word, I'm not even fucking with you, one word, by changing only one fucking word and how I ask you about something, it can shape what your response will be. And ultimately, you can shade in details even. So there was what the fuck is her name? This researcher, she's got actually a number of TED Talks, and she had said that she did this study. It looked like it was in about the 70s or so, and just by simply using smash versus hit, they would get a different response. So they would show people pictures of an accident or a film reel of an accident, and by saying, hey, do you remember what happened when this car hit the other versus when these cars smashed into each other, their responses would differ greatly. And oddly enough, oftentimes when they would say smash instead of hit, the person would describe also seeing broken glass where there was none.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. So
So
is
it's
it,
just the implication of a simple fucking word can greatly alter our retelling of an event, even if it's an event that is super controlled, such as that, a video of something. You're not witnessing a live event, you're watching something that is ultimately very controlled.
so is it like when you see a bunch of jumbled up words that make a sentence that resembles regular words and your brain just fills in the blanks and you
Yes.
can read it? It's the same thing with memory?
It's pretty similar. That's
Wow.
one of the functions of memory is so there's different ways that we think about things as well, like different storage. So gist memory is where you remember that I used to have colored hair all the time, and somebody tells you that for a while my hair was like bright fuchsia, and you just kind of shrug and you're like, yeah, that sounds right. That's just memory. Like you remember the broad strokes of the person.
Mm-hmm.
And so anything that somebody says, faulty or not, if it kind of fits in with that, it's like, yeah, okay, that sounds right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then there's uh verbatim memory, which is like you remember that I worked at Red Room, or like you specifically remember that I did this one thing this one time.
I specifically remember the day that I met you at the Red Room, you were wearing a white tank top. And I don't know why I remember that, but it was like a white, like wife beater style tank top, and I don't even know if
And
you
the
actually
funny
wore
thing
those.
is, my gist memory would make me say like, yeah, that tracks, because like I had a ton of those and I wore them all the time.
Okay, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, but like I can't honestly specifically remember. So generally, verbatim memories can happen around an event. Like if I had seen you uh at SantaCon,
Okay.
and there was something like unique about the thing that you were doing. Like if you were wearing like a fuchsia Santa outfit or something, like I would remember that specifically, as opposed to, like the wife beater thing where I'm like, yeah, okay, that's probably true. Or, if you meet somebody at SantaCon and they say, yeah, I was wearing a Santa outfit. It's like, yeah, that probably tracks because like it's SantaCon, So
Yeah.
that's a lot of this stuff can be a little bit explained away with like, okay, so for instance, one of the Mandela Effect things is the positioning of New Zealand
Oh,
in relation to Australia. Is
okay.
it northeast of Australia or southeast of Australia?
I thought it was northeast.
I believe it is northeast,
Okay.
but um, apparently it's southeast in shit. Now I'm gonna have to double check that.
Well, this actually brings up a really good point that I was really curious about. Okay, so let's say you and I agree on, oh, that was weird.
I know, right?
Oh, demon. It's like a color. Here, I'll show you. It's like a coloring page that DJ did. Let's see. Yeah, so he colored that for me.
That's really cool.
And now I'm gonna switch it up. Okay, I'm going. There we go.
Oh, that's cool.
It's so pretty. Okay, so now this is something I'm curious about. So there are about half of the Mandela effects that I remember, like everyone else, like the Berenstein Bears, that kind of thing. But then there's some like that I remember differently, and so like I remember them as they're presented today. So I wonder if that means stuff about jumping timelines. I'm assuming you're going to talk about.
I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Yeah, like I mean, it could briefly imply that that kind of gets into quantum suicide a little bit too.
I'm just thinking, I'm wondering if I'm only on half of the timelines with you, where we have this shared misremembering or whatever. I guess that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
I mean, the universe is vast. Most anything's probable.
That's true.
So with the Berenstein Bears, I have a very verbatim memory on it being the Berenstein Bears, because that was the first time I had ever seen a name that ended in Steen, and I didn't know how to say it.
Oh.
I was like, is it Steen, Stein, what? And so that's where that was the first time that I saw Steen. And so I remember that very, very specifically for that specific reason. And then later on, 25 years later or so, all this happens. I'm like, no, like I know for a fact it is Steen. I know that for 100% fact it's Steen. And no, it's Stain.
Now, here's something interesting that I saw. And I am not saying that it's legit. I'm not saying it's not legit. It's just something that I saw that sort of sent me into a bit of a tailspin thinking about. So there's a video of a guy, and I don't know how you would edit this. I'm sure it's possible. I don't know. There's a video of a guy where he's holding a Berenstain Bears book, but when he leans forward into his bedroom, and the cover switches to Berenstein, and he comes back and it's Stain, and in and it's Steen, and he's like, is this a glitch in the Matrix? Is this like is it a different dimension? Is it a different timeline? And as he's doing this, it's changing, but it's not changing in a way that's terribly noticeable. It's very, very subtle. So that was like,
that's actually a whole ass thing.
yeah, it was very weird.
So that yes, that is weird. I'm gonna make a little note here actually to talk about that, because that wasn't in my notes. So the broad strokes are the things that could explain the Mandela effect are as follows. We are all just somehow misremembering things, which a lot of it can be that. A lot of it can be just our fuzzy trace memory trying to fill shit in and doing it incorrectly, but given the shared experiences that most of us in the United States have, because a lot of this is very fucking Eurocentric and very US specific.
Huh.
Yeah, like the majority of it.
That's weird.
So yeah. So a lot of this could just be us filling things in similarly with our Americanized memories and our collective memories, or it could be like gaslighting on a larger effect, which is not, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But I had to wade through so much like tinfoil hat nonsense to get some sort of facts, because I don't want to I don't want to be a useful idiot, really. The idea of a useful idiot is somebody actually, it was coined way before Trump supporters, but they fit into the category of a useful idiot is somebody who takes in conspiracy theories and spreads them, essentially. That's a way oversimplification of the notion, but it's I was I want to do a deep dive on this one too sometime. I was listening to this podcast called Winds of Change, and it was more or less like, okay, you know that song Winds of Change, right, by the Scorpions?
Yes.
So this podcast did a really awesome job of postulating that entire song wasn't actually written by the Scorpions. It was written by like a CIA plant to unify Germany. It's a very good podcast, and I would highly recommend listening to it. It's not super, super long, maybe like 8 parts or so. So yeah, if you have just an afternoon free, definitely give it a listen. It's very interesting. But in the very last episode, the idea is brought up of a useful idiot, somebody who spreads propaganda without necessarily thinking that that's what they're doing. Okay. They think that they're just informing people. And so there was a lot of stuff, like I said, that I had to wade through. And in the heart of trying to not be a useful idiot, I mean, I would listen to like 2 hours of content and glean like one sentence out of it. But some of the things that I thought were very interesting was that people had thought that this was just gaslighting on a major scale. And here's why that's not possible, because either we're all correctly remembering things, and the government some fucking how has gone into everyone's house and taken every copy of Berenstain Bears and replaced them with Berenstain, and every old ass like box of Stover Stovetop and replaced it with just regular stuff. That's a lot of fucking work. And I honestly think that people overestimate the government quite often.
Yes. Yeah,
Um,
my favorite thing I've heard lately is from a soldier, and he served in Afghanistan, and he's like, everybody thinks they're getting trackers in their vaccines. Like, I was in Afghanistan, I was part of an elite group of people who were carrying out these secret missions, and the fucking satellites could not stay in contact with our trackers that cost millions of dollars to make, and they would constantly lose us. Why would they give a fuck about so and so in fucking Kansas, going to Walmart, going to the doctor's office, taking a shit, whatever? He's like all of their resources went into being able to find us, and they still could not find us.
well, even I have a few friends who had been in the military, and just they put a RFID chip in you just
Yeah.
because, like, if you're blown up, they can go, like, if there's, a huge fucking event where, bombing of Beirut, great, great example. And that, like, if all of those guys had chips, then you could just kind of go over it with a big RFID sensor and be like, okay, Johnson's dead, Livermore's dead, Austin's dead,
Like in the Jurassic World movie, when they all go out, I think it's the first one or the second one, they all go out to try to like, oh, all these guys, all these Jurassic World security guards go out, and they're like monitoring them from this home base, and they're trying to catch the Indoraptor, whatever the fuck it is, I can't remember. And it's like one by one, it's like boop, they just sort of blip off the screen, and they're like, their little lifeline thing goes,
right. Yeah, like I completely agree. And also, I mean, I know that this isn't exactly a hot take, but I've noticed a lot of the people who are dumb enough to think that the government really truly gives a shit about what they're doing lead lives that the government wouldn't really care about, or share all their shit on social media anyway.
Yep.
And so it's like,
you're putting it out there. That's on you.
yeah, right? Like I fully know that, like, all my cookies are turned on, all my everything's out there, but like I have social media. I'm not crazy active on it, but like I have social media. I have a smartphone. I have a fucking smartwatch. Like, I'm also not selling drugs anymore. I'm not doing anything of concern to the government. I didn't even cheat on my taxes last year. So,
Yeah, I pay all my
like,
taxes and stuff. I know.
yeah.
And people say that we're problematic because we're perpetrating the myth that we don't have anything of value that the government wants, and therefore we're like just putting our heads in the sand and giving them access to everything. They already have access to everything that they want.
Yeah.
Social security numbers, the medical records. I mean, everything, it's already out there. Like, watch a fucking show. Watch a show where, okay, watch a British show. What's the first thing they do? Or an Irish show or something. They check the CCTV, and then they run through the social media, and then they all the things that like we do every day anyway. Oh, we're living in a police state. We always have.
Yeah. We
This
gave
is
them the fucking keys.
yeah.
I think that that's the thing is, like, when I was younger, I fucked enough conspiracy theorists that, like, I'm very, very, I fucked a lot of shady dudes. I'm very well acquainted with just how easy it is to gain access to somebody's information electronically. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's real easy. People practically give you their passwords, practically give you their keys. And
Oh yeah. When Megan and I, when we're no longer doing this podcast, we will be PIs, and we will be
we could be,
really
though.
fucking good at it. Yeah. Because
Yeah, we
I
would be really
mean,
good at it. And yeah, absolutely we would.
yeah.
Uh I just dropped my vaporizer, and I think I dropped it into this garbage can that's got spit in it potentially.
Oh,
Nope, it's just back there where I can't reach it. That's fine. But yeah, it's usually, I'm gonna pause for just a sec. I just gotta get this thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll be like, where the fuck is it? And then I'll buy a new one. And then I'll be like, oh yeah, it's just right here this whole time. Okay. So yeah, like, it's I know enough to know that unless I had everything on lockdown since like 1996 that they already have access to everything. It's fine. I don't give a shit.
No.
The things that mainly they're mining is just data on the shit that we do.
Yeah, the shit that we buy.
Shit that we buy, shit that we do, shit that we watch. Other ways to get around that? Yeah. Is it a little too late to start? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I've already given them permission to everything. So
I know, me too.
fuck it. Anyway, okay, let's see. To review, it's possible that everybody's just misremembering everything on a large scale. And that can be influenced by media. It can be inadvertently influenced by friends, by family, because when you recall a memory, it's less like you're pulling up a picture and more like you're going on your computer and opening up a Word document. Like, when the Word document is like, do you want to save? And you're like, but I didn't alter anything, or did I? That's exactly how your memories are.
Okay. That's
So even like if you and I are recalling, like when we made Robot Love, right? If I'm like, yeah, that mango salsa was really good, but it really gave you heartburn. That's a probable thing to say, right?
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, maybe that's right, because we went for tacos after, and we had all kinds of cool salsas, and yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it didn't. I made that up. It may
Yeah.
or may not. I mean, maybe it did. I have no idea.
I don't even
But
remember eating it, to be honest, but right then I would have said, yeah, probably.
see, yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it gets worse if it's in a social setting. Like if it was you and me and like 3 other people, then it's likely that not only would you have agreed, you also would have elaborated
Oh,
in order to keep the flow
interesting.
of the conversation going.
Interesting. Okay.
So it not only are your memories super faulty just to begin with, but they get worse. So that's a good thing to know. Every time they're recalled, if I was to bring up a memory that involved you, like let's say your baby shower, at Red Room, if I was to be like, yeah, those deviled eggs, right? Immediately,
Did I
it
have
sounds kind of
Yeah, it sounds plausible.
right.
I have to really think about it for a second. I don't
And
think,
even if you really think about it, the fact that I said it
yeah,
and I put it into your head
I
means
see
that you
them.
may and what's really funny is if I hadn't, I mean, and even now it's a little plausible, but if I hadn't given this big caveat that I'm going to like, that I gave of I can alter your memories and all this stuff, if that didn't form some sort of a memory in there with a little clause of you probably didn't have deviled eggs, then the next time that you remember your baby shower, the
They're
deviled
there.
eggs are going to be in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That
Yeah.
actually checks out, because the theme of my baby shower was Candyland, and I distinctly remember Chad made my friend Chad made these meatballs, and he like frosted them in mashed potatoes to make them look like popsicles or like cake pops, and they were so good, and I can in my head see
Great.
deviled eggs on the table next to him, but I know we didn't have deviled eggs because that would have given me crazy heartburn. But now I see them there.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. That's funny because it explains also why, like, eyewitness testimony is garbage in,
Oh man, that's a whole other thing.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, in criminal stuff, or like people. Okay, if you asked me right now to describe to a sketch artist what Tom Hardy looks like, could I do it? I've
And
seen
which era of Tom Hardy would it be?
exactly. I know in my head, okay, pillowy lips, gorgeous blue eyes. What else is there? What do I articulate? He's got a nose, he's got a chin. Sometimes he's thin, sometimes he's not. I mean, I know what this man looks like, and I could not articulate to you what he looks like.
Oh man. So that happens very fucking often, first of all. Eyewitness testimony can be so heavily shaped and formed that it can erase and change the race of a person.
Yeah.
A person can be very tall and like they get mischaracterized as somebody who's very short.
Yeah.
Memory is so faulty on eyewitness testimony, and it goes back to, sorry, my nose is running really bad. It goes back to the whole thing of it's so easy to lead a witness to tamper with their memories. There was one case where it was super obviously not this guy. There's no way it could have been this guy. And even when the victim was given the picture of the person who was convicted ultimately of the crime, she said that person looks the closest. Not that's him, not that's absolutely him, not I would know that face anywhere.
Yeah.
Just that person looks the closest out of like these 12 pictures you gave me.
I think that
And then
ultimately that leads to like, the Golden State Killer and Ted Bundy and all these different people getting to have a longer span of time in which they can commit crimes because
this dude, so he was linked to a rape, and it ended up being like a prolific rapist had later, like, significantly later said, oh no, that was me. But yeah, initially the chick said this looks most like the person, and then on the stand she said it's him, I know it's him, it's that guy, no doubt about it in my mind. Because our memories also, we're suckers for self-fulfilling prophecies. Like if so there was these two groups of people. One of them was told about a fictitious war and given all the same information as the second group, but the second group also was told that this fictitious country won instead of this one. And so in their mind, group A, who didn't know who the victors were, had seen favorably country A, even though country B won. Well, group B had initially seen country A favorably, and then once they were told that country B had won, and they were asked to look back upon how they were thinking about it, they all thought about it as though they had always thought that country B was favorable and country B was going to win.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Thank God for DNA and for science, because I know
for sure.
I know there were several victims of the Golden State Killer when he was just the East Area rapist, who swore that he had a tattoo on his forearm that was like an army logo or something. And DNA proved that he had done it, and he had no tattoo there. I mean, Paul Holes was just talking about that not long ago. And so how important it is to really just remember the faultiness of memory. Absolutely.
Well, and especially if it's something that we only saw in passing. Something that was fleeting. But all the same, there was another study that was done fairly recently where I believe it was army training, some sort of armed forces training, where they were testing a person's memory when they're under a significant amount of stress, because one of the faults that had been implied, not necessarily found, but implied, one of the little implied holes with the crash versus hit study was, but they weren't actually witnessing a crash in real time. They weren't in the crash real time. They didn't have the stress response that a person might have upon witnessing something that they would have to later recall.
Okay.
So they had studied a handful of guys. I think it was males. I don't know if there was females in there. they had studied a handful of guys' responses when they were being put under massive duress, and being sort of tortured to prepare them for interrogations that they might face in the future.
Okay.
And when they were asked to describe their torturer, their memories were still really malleable. They would, okay, in one of them, they were 40% more likely to be able to be guided to say that it was person A when it was actually person B doing the torturing. And person A was like tall, skinny, bald, white dude with like kind of birdish features. And person B was like a stocky, like olive toned guy with like bigger facial features.
Huh.
Like they looked nothing alike.
Yeah.
It wasn't like somebody mixing you and me up. It was like somebody mixing Nick and Dave up. Our two husbands look very opposite from one another.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it's so fucking malleable. Memory, regardless, is you can shape it in any which way. And one of the actual like scary bad things about this is you remember the Satanic Panic?
Oh yes. Yeah.
This goes into that territory. So there's a lot of shit about the Satanic Panic that was super sus and very fucked up. But
we're currently going through a resurgence of it with QAnon.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
With them, it's a whole other thing with those fucking guys.
Yeah.
I should do a deep dive into QAnon.
You gotta
I know
watch
too much about that.
Did you watch the doc on HBO? Oh, the QAnon documentary. They basically figure
I'll
out
watch that.
QAnon is. Yeah, you should definitely.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience with like people of that mindset of what the government won't tell you, what big pharma won't tell you. And I used to really dig the idea of conspiracy theories until I found out that like 3/4 of them are garbage, and 1/4, usually the more insidious, less believable quarter, is actually true.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, here's what really upsets me about conspiracy theories, and you will find me screaming at my TV. It's not a fucking conspiracy. So I was a big believer in the JFK assassination being a conspiracy, and I devoured every bit of conspiracy, disinformation ad nauseum for many, many years. And I was like, I don't know who did it, but it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald, right? Recently, there is more substantial evidence to say that Lee Harvey Oswald took a shot at the president, and that as the let's say still half drunk, not well trained Secret Service guy, as he's standing up in a panic to try to protect the president, actually accidentally blew his brains out. Like, when you look at the evidence and you look at what happened to him, like he sort of just disappeared. Like he was like, oh God, someone's shooting, and like whoop, 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 and accidentally blew the president's brains out. So there is no magic bullet that goes back and to the left or whatever, like in the JFK.
Dude, that makes so much fucking sense because
right?
Okay, I do wholeheartedly believe, just based on body language, I'm pretty good at knowing when people are fucking lying.
Yeah.
Based on body language, based on just the look on his face, just based on a lot of shit, I genuinely don't think that Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy.
No.
Because every fucking thing that he was doing seemed like he was like, well, apparently this is fucking happening. I think he doesn't look like like maybe he did take a shot, but I don't think that that's the shot that
yeah. I think he thought maybe like, yeah, I could do this. I could totally do this. He couldn't do it, and there's no like, oh,
like he was a good sniper.
Yeah, totally. But like all the other shit, and like Anyway, I won't take us down the JFK rabbit hole, but that sort of was like eye-opening, like, okay, there's a logical explanation. And so I was watching an episode of Cold Justice, which is one of my favorite shows ever. And it's where she's an ex-prosecutor. She goes into these small towns and helps them tries to help them solve their cold cases.
Ooh, I love small town shit. Is this like a real thing, or is
it's
it
a real
like
thing? Yeah, it's a reality show.
okay.
And so Cold Justice is on. Now here's an
Discovery
interesting.
Plus?
It's not Oxygen. It's on Oxygen because I can see the little orange or yellow icon. Yeah, it's on Oxygen. It's fucking amazing. Kelly Siegler, she's this teeny tiny little petite woman from Texas, and she's got the Texas drawl, and she brings in like a.
Oh, she's Kira Sedgwick.
So yeah, she's so cute, and she brings someone with her, and they usually go and they investigate and they talk to all the witnesses, even though it's 30 years later, and they reenact the crime to try to see if they can figure things out. And anyway, so it's an amazing show. It's been on for like 6 seasons. So there's this one episode where they go into a town and there's all these conspiracy theories about how this girl was killed. Now the most likely thing is that her brother shot her, but because it's a small town, there's been podcast after true crime armchair expert, which I like to think of myself as, where they just spread disinformation. So she went in there. And
yes, that's a useful idiot.
Yeah, she's like this, and this is part of the reason why I'm so glad we don't have a true crime podcast. We have a comedy podcast because I do not want to contribute to that disinformation. But anyway, so she goes in and she's like, okay, so here's what the podcasters all say happened. And here's what they don't know. We have access to the files. This is what actually happened. So podcasters say, oh, the local police killed her because they found evidence hidden in one of the sheriff's personal storage units that was related to her case. And then he was fired and he went to jail. So he's the one who killed her. Well, then you find out in actuality, he was fired for having evidence in his personal storage locker, but it was nothing that pertained to her case. And it was stuff that he was supposed to like throw away, but got mixed up with his stuff. And so he was basically just a lazy dumbass. Or like, there's DNA evidence, there's blood splatter. Well, blood splatter is sus, but there's physical evidence that proves all the things that these podcasters have been spreading are totally wrong. They say, oh, her brother could have never killed her, he wasn't violent. They talked to her brother's girlfriend who said he beat the shit out of me all the time. And so there's this conspiracy disinformation that just drives me fucking crazy. And so when people are like, it's changed the way I look at a lot of stuff, because people are like, oh, the Mandela Effect, it's totally a conspiracy. Yeah, but is it more likely we're just misremembering? I mean, I love the idea that we're hopping timelines, but
right. So on some stuff, yeah, it definitely to me seems very fucking likely that we're just misremembering stuff that, okay, when Nelson in 1989, I was 4. I was like 3 for 7 of those months, I don't really remember 1989 all that well, to be honest with you. Like, I have like a couple memories, but nothing major.
See, and I was 8 and I only have a couple memories.
Mostly, yeah, 1989 was kind of uneventful for a little kid,
Totally.
And so, yeah, like and I do remember thinking that Nelson Mandela was dead, but like, there's no.
Like, did we think that because our parents said it, or did we think that because we saw something? I mean, absolutely. Like, I don't remember.
Also, he was, I believe God, when the fuck was he released? I forget when he was released, but there was also in my notes, there was another thing that happened around the same time where sorry, you're gonna have to.
That's all right.
Brush that out. What the fuck is his name? There was this one dude who actually did die right around that time. Oh, Biko. He died in prison in 1977, and he was also like a political prisoner.
Oh,
And so, I mean, could it be us just kind of like, fudging it? There's people who remember a whole ado about it, like an impassioned speech from his widow, and like half of Africa being really pissed and the other half being like, yeah, fuck that guy, because we like apartheid. I'll let you guess on the race of those people.
Yeah.
And so it is possible that we are misremembering things just because America's kind of America centric, and we kind of remember things only that pertain to us. Like, we're just pretty much a nation of 4-year-olds. And there's some stuff that can absolutely be that, or even like, okay, Looney Tunes. How do you remember Looney Tunes being spelled?
LOONEYTUNES.
Okay, so that's correct.
Okay.
And I remember it being that also, because so people say like, oh, that doesn't make sense, Looney Tunes, there's no music. Well, no, there is, and it paired with Merry Melodies, Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Because Warner Brothers was like super political back in the day. Actually, they were really like, I love old, like especially wartime Warner Brothers cartoons, because they didn't shy away.
Nope.
And so there's certain things that I'm like, oh yeah, no, like that's probably that. Or even certain Mandela effects. The article I'm going to have you pull up has the correct thing and the thing that we misremember. And sometimes the thing that we misremember seems more likely if it's our own minds fabricating it.
Yes.
Like, okay, Fruit of the Loom. Do you remember, like, I mean, you don't have to remember, they still exist, but Fruit of the Loom, like underwear, shirts, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
What do you remember in the logo?
I remember
What is the logo?
grapes, and then apples, and then the green grapes, because I remember seeing a commercial once where it was these guys dressed up like fruit, and it was the Fruit of the Loom one. Yeah.
That's kind of funny because I can remember either green or purple. But do you remember there being like anything else, like anything in the background that's not fruit?
No.
Okay. So after it had been mentioned that there was a cornucopia in some people's memories, I was like, oh yeah, like I can see that in the background with my memory.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Like,
makes sense.
but then when I saw the actual logo with like a photoshopped in cornucopia, I was like, oh no, that's not even the cornucopia I'm thinking. And so that's one of those things with the Mandela effect. It's usually when people come out about, oh, isn't this thing crazy? They don't ask you like I asked you, like, okay, describe this. Was there anything else? They say, hey, do you remember there being a cornucopia in there?
Oop.
Oh, I can't see it.
Sorry. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, yeah, so there's one with a cornucopia and one without. I feel like I remember both.
Right. Well, and okay, so there was, I want to say like it was around 1998 to 2003, where a lot of stuff, I mean, even like maybe 96 to 2003, where a lot of stuff was rebranding.
Yeah.
Kentucky Fried Chicken was turning into KFC. Like, I'm surprised Walmart didn't turn into the Mart. Like, just everything was trying to rebrand. Burger King was BK, and things were trying to hippen themselves up.
Yeah, totally.
And so there's a lot of stuff in there, and like logos were being redone. I mean, admittedly, a lot of this stuff hadn't had a facelift since like the 80s or very early 90s. And so as it goes with advertising, you have to freshen up. And so there is a ton of stuff that, okay, like the cornucopia, for instance, or I mean, a handful of the other things that we'll see in that list where it's like, oh, yeah, I totally remember that way. I just thought that was a rebrand.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Yeah.
like Jif and Jiffy. So okay,
Yeah.
the peanut butter Jif, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember it being Jiffy?
Yes.
And then they shortened it to Jif.
To Jif. Yeah. Yeah. Jiffy
Okay,
peanut
now
butter.
this one can actually be kind of like a frog in the stock pot type memory. So we all remember Jiffy popcorn,
Yes.
Jiffy Pop.
Yeah.
Okay, so that could be one of two things. It could be either us just misremembering and conflating the two, or it could be an actual memory.
Is there any proof there was ever Jiffy peanut butter?
It was never Jiffy peanut butter.
I feel like someone just.
There's even Jiffy bread, like Jiffy, like Jiffy cornbread.
Yeah. 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 Totally. Wow.
So there are things named Jiffy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the stovetop stuffing
Yeah.
that just flows. And so I think that a lot of the stuff that we misremember, that
Yeah.
we kind of attribute to the Mandela effect, is also people trying to avoid copyright infringement.
Yeah.
So
that makes a lot of
but-
sense.
Mhm. Well, okay, so I know that I've talked to you before about the Star Wars one, right?
I don't remember.
Okay, so what is the iconic line when Darth
Oh.
Vader?
Yes. 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 Luke, I
Okay.
am your father.
Yes. Is that the line?
That's what I think the line is.
How much have you seen Star Wars?
A lot.
Okay, do you have specific memory of him saying that?
Yes.
What was the context in which it was said?
He was like, Darth Vader was like, they were like fighting hand-to-hand combat, and Luke was like, I feel like Luke was dangling from something as he was like, Luke, I am your father. Like dangling from, he was like ready to fall. And
But did he just dead ass drop that? He's like, oh, since you're gonna die, I may as well like impart this hot ass wisdom on you. Like,
that's kind of
was
how I
he
remember
prompted
it.
by anything to say that?
I don't remember the conversation before that or what happened after.
It's because your mind made a special memory for that pop culture nugget that didn't actually exist in real time.
Yeah. Are we going to get into pop culture now?
Yeah.
Yes.
So a little. So the actual line and the actual context was and Star Wars nerds, I'm super sorry, I'm gonna fuck this up. So they're fighting and it gets to an intense scene, and Luke Skywalker is all like, fuck you, Darth Vader, you killed my father.
Yeah.
And then he's all like, no, I am your father.
That's
It's no, I am your father, not Luke, I am your father.
Huh.
So I have a friend who is if I had literally any fucking question about Star Wars, J Crash is the person I go to.
Okay.
He's the biggest Star Wars geek in the universe. Second only to Jason Potbelly and only barely. He is the Star Wars guy. And I had asked him the question that I will ask you now, that predictably you could probably guess what the outcome is just based on like all the questions I've asked you before. But C3PO, the gold guy?
Yeah.
What color is his body? Does he have any different colored limbs? Are they all the same color?
All gold.
All?
All gold.
All?
All gold.
All?
I think they're all gold.
No, he's got a silver leg.
Son of a bitch. You're kidding.
Mm-mm. I asked Jay, and Jay said no, all gold. Jay has like a ton of original action figures from like the 70s and the 80s.
You got a gold, or you got a silver leg. I can't show you anything on my
Got a
phone. It
silver
doesn't work
leg.
with Zoom. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. He's got a mismatched silver leg. It's his right leg too.
Yeah.
Damn.
And so
Okay.
here's the thing with that. It completely fits in the story that he would have a silver leg because he was made by Anakin, who was kind of just, he didn't have all matching fucking parts to go with.
That's
He was a
true.
little kid working in a little alien scrapyard. So it tracks that he would be different colors.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And second to that, that's also our brains filling it in because
Ah,
it's an indirect memory. Like it's not something you weren't watching his leg the entire time. So
yeah,
your
no.
brain just fills in that since, you know, a little over 3/4 of his body is gold, his leg probably is too, because it's never addressed specifically.
That makes sense. I think also, now this might be part of the problem. You remember Spaceballs?
Hmm.
The girl version that was Joan Rivers of C3PO, she was all gold, and she was who I
Yeah.
pictured first. Yeah. So there's
Well,
definitely,
and there's a lot of things that I think are just misremembered because they were never addressed, and also a lot of things that I think we falsely remember
yeah.
because of parodies in order to avoid copyright infringement.
I think you're 100% right. I don't think there is a conspiracy.
But then what about Berenstain?
I know. Okay, so yeah, so let's talk about the thing where the guy was in the vortex where it changed. Because I know.
I think that that's Photoshop. I think that that's a really neat trick.
Oh.
Filters can make me look like a handsome man with a mustache. So I
So I
don't
got
trust technology
duped.
anymore.
But
Yeah, you got
TikTok,
duped as fuck.
no,
But
TikTok would
TikTok never lies.
never. Okay, well, that explains that.
Let me just drink this cat.
I know, right? Every time you do it, I laugh. Oh, it's so
What am
cute.
I, Alf?
Oh,
Cats.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that both, in my opinion, both are equally at play. So with the Berenstain Bears, there is a moment where, okay, so beyond the fact that maybe, and like the Berenstain Bears one is really the only, that and Shazam are like the only two that I'm like, this is the hill I will die on. These existed.
Yeah.
Uh, but with the Berenstain Bears, it is possible that parents just, would mispronounce it because their mind read Steen and it's late at night and they're tired. They've worked several hours by that point. As much as they loved reading us books, I'm sure they were really tired by that point. And
Yeah.
then maybe you mispronounce it a couple of times, the kids start to think it's Steen, you just kind of roll with it.
That's
Um, Ask your mom in a non-leading way if she remembers those books
okay.
and see if she says Steen or Stain.
Yeah, because
Um,
she used to fall asleep reading them to me, so that'll be interesting.
yeah, that would. And then like the story, or not the story, like they made a TV show. They made a couple of TV shows. One was from when we were kids and it had a different soundtrack. One was from like late 90s, early 2000s, which is probably the one that a lot of people would have watched. And their theme song, like their intro song, was this chick, I don't know, Leanne Womack, I have no idea, some country chick, singing the Berenstain Bears. And with a country twang,
Oh,
Steen, your mind fills it in to make it
yeah.
seem like the thing that you're used to, or the thing that, because Berenstain, admittedly, that's, if you just skim reading, you're going to read it Steen.
Yeah. Yeah,
Despite,
probably.
once again, like me saying that's a hill I'll die on, it was Steen, but
I
you
think
know,
that's a really good point. I mean, and I also think that sometimes it's so much more glamorous to be like, this is a thing. what if it's creative marketing to drum up more interest in a thing or a product or a, to
Right.
just throw your hat in that ring and be like, oh, do you guys remember the one where like this sock used to be black and white? You remember that? You can buy them at Target. They're $3.99. They're gray and black now. Like I kind of wonder if some people jumped on that bandwagon a little bit, because there's stuff that I've seen that is like products that you can get now. I mean, Fruit of the Loom, they have a lot of money. They've got a good marketing team. What if they jumped on that? So I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity to falsely plant in, like, into the collective unconscious of like, hey, this is a Mandela effect too. What if it was just a few things to begin with, and then we've exploded it trying to join the conversation? That just occurred.
I agree. Absolutely. I think that there's definitely things like that. So at least like for the podcast that I listened to while I was driving around and doing some investigating, were just deep dives into every single Mandela effect. A lot of them were Pokemon, which I'm like, I wouldn't know either way, to be honest with you.
Nope.
Pikachu's tail is one of them.
Oh,
Where once again, it's one of those things of like, ooh, I wouldn't know either way. I mean, I know what looks right, but
yeah. Well,
you know,
I'm kind of excited to look at the top 40 now that we were talking about.
yeah, that's actually, and that's one of them that's in there. But yeah, I think that it's very interesting because a lot of it can be brushed off as something that's called childhood amnesia, which is kind of why we don't have super firm memories from before we were about 3.5, 4.5, depending on the person. And even a lot of the stuff that happened in early mid childhood, even, I mean, shit, even early adulthood, you can put false memories in people's heads really fucking easily. Do you remember your mom had told me about, I don't know, I think like 6 or 7 or 8 or so. Anyway, you got lost in a mall around Christmas time, and she was like trying to find you, or maybe your dad was trying to find, one of your parents was like trying to find you. Do you remember that in like
No.
Vancouver?
Yeah, that sounds right. It would have been the Vancouver Mall.
And like, but like the Santa, I guess like the Santa that year was weird and you like ran away or you didn't want to see him, something like that.
I have no memory of that whatsoever. What a trip.
Well, I mean, that's good because that didn't happen. A lot of
Oh,
people, if you tell them, I know, but you were starting to make the memory in your mind,
yeah, I
trying to make it
was.
fit, right?
Yeah, because I was like,
Okay, so,
oh, yeah, the
right?
Vancouver Mall.
A lot of people do that. A lot of people, okay, so me, for instance, I used to just like wander off all the time. I have several vivid memories of nearly getting abducted. Um, I mean, I was a really cute little kid. Like, I would have abducted me, hella. And so, but if somebody had told me, oh, do you remember the time that you wandered away at the mall? I'd be like, oh yeah, that probably, yeah, that makes sense. And so one of the researchers who had kind of come up with this experiment was talking to his brother, his little brother, about a time that happened, and his little brother was even able to fill in details about like what the person who had found him and led him to safety looked like.
Wow. Wow. That's really interesting.
Yeah. And if I had pushed a little bit harder and been like, no, I swear to God, it was this, that, and maybe pinpointed down a little bit more dates,
Oh,
then
yeah.
I would have been able to implant that memory in your mind.
And that's why hypnosis doesn't work.
Not just hypnosis, but so with the satanic panic, they had used hypnosis, um, dream regression, things like that. Like, so a lot of the time this person was in a very vulnerable state anyway. And they were constantly pulling up the memories, which, as we now know, every time you pull up a memory, it can distort.
Yep. Man, that's fucked up. Sometimes I'll watch those shows and they're like, or no, who was I? Oh, I was listening. Paul Holes was talking about how he's never used hypnosis, but that it was really popular back in the 70s and 80s to use hypnosis on victims of crimes to try to extract memories. Like, that seems like drilling a hole in your head to let the ghosts out so you don't get nightmares. Like, that's,
I mean, yeah, but it's so did you ever see oh god, what's that movie with the emotions? It's not Frozen,
oh, Inside Out.
Inside Out.
Yeah.
So you know how the happiness person who looks like me when I don't have my glasses on,
Yeah, she does.
uh so the sadness person who looks like me right now with my glasses on goes and tries to pick up a happy memory,
Yeah.
and by touching it they make the happy memory sad.
Yeah.
You can do that. So people um and this is a double-edged sword too, being able to tint the memories. So you can pull up a memory of something that, let's say, okay, let's just go full inside out on it. You can pull up a happy memory,
Okay.
but let's say that you are recalling a happy memory of some time that you and one of your exes were like doing something fun.
Okay.
And you tell Dave about it because you guys are about to go and do that one thing that was fun, and you're trying to relay to him, hey, I did this before and it was fun. Maybe you'd enjoy that too. Let's say if Dave gets salty that like you're talking about an ex, which I don't really think Dave would, but like if he was like, oh, Peter, blah, 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 and he like is a dick about it, that is then going to taint that memory as a sad memory every time you pull that memory up.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true.
And so they
Oh,
were kind of fucking around with the idea of a little bit like in your book, uh taking a sad, traumatic, fucked up memory and crafting the narrative and making it less traumatic.
interesting.
Another thing that they were doing with mouse brains uh was they were able to isolate the brain cells that were reacting and feeling a certain way. In this instance, it was fear, in the one that they were doing. They
Oh,
were able to isolate all of those, put in, I mean, neurotoxin is a strong word, but something that's neuroreactive,
yeah.
that can pinpoint the ones that fire when that happens, target them. You can turn those neurons off and the fear response goes away. The way that they were able to pinpoint this in mice is when a mouse goes somewhere it's never been before, it's very curious. It wants to, like, find all the ins and outs, see if there's treats, everything like that. When it goes somewhere it's been before, that let's say it received a little shock or something bad happened, while they may not necessarily remember, oh, this is where Charlie got his head blown off, or like, oh, this is where I got a little shock on my toesies, it will specifically remember this is a bad place where bad stuff happens.
Oh, wow.
So they were able to target those neurons and turn them off, and the mouse would go back into the place it received a little shock on his toesies and would just act like it had never been there before because it doesn't have the fear response. Similarly, it was able to go into a room it had never been in before, and once they flip that little switch, the fear response kicks in and it acts as though that's the place that they got their little toesies shocked. And this behavior manifests in it freezing,
Oh,
because when a
wow.
mouse is scared it stays still. That's why they used a fear response. When a mouse, it's the easiest to observe. When a
Yeah.
mouse is scared it just stays still and tries to make itself like flat and low to the ground and kind of like looks around. But when it's not scared, or when it's just being a regular mouse, it's just like, what up, dudes? So
wow, that's really interesting.
yeah, I thought so too.
Damn, that's very
Um,
cool. I wonder if that's what
but
my
yeah,
anxiety medication does on like a different scale.
they said that this would be almost impossible to weaponize in that extent.
Oh, okay.
Because there would have to be a controller. Like these mice had little hats that like
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Uh
I definitely did not
so-
get free hat.
no, they would have to like go into your brain and like target things and put like a little hat that controlled your electrical impulses on you. It would you would know. You would know. If you woke up like that, you'd know.
I'd be like, free hat? Yes, sign me up.
Conversely, if there's any medical experimenting that starts out with free hat, probably say no, unless it pays really well and the hat's dope. In which case, YOLO.
Yeah. There's a lot I'll do for a free hat, but I don't know if medical experiments is one of them.
Oh man,
Oh,
yes,
shit.
yes.
That's amazing.
God, there is so much more on memory that I'll get into at some other point, but it's so fucking frustrating. Like, because all of this, it makes so much sense, but then life is just us constantly fighting with our brains and trying to figure out if we're crazy or not,
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
Uh, and so I think that this is something like this is no different. And it was like the more that I would delve into it, the more I would just be like, wow, everything is so related and I can never properly convey this.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
There was this one that I'm gonna kind of get into when we have our tidbits episode. Um, it was really, really awesome, I thought. Where's my little tidbit? Uh, it was, oh no, not that one. Mm. Sorry, I don't have my note cards like I normally do.
That's okay.
They're not organized like always. I don't have them out on the table. Shit, what the fuck is that called? Well, okay, edit that out. I can't find it right now. Which is a bummer because that's a really good one. Where the fuck is it? Okay, edit it back in. Haha, I found it.
Woohoo!
Right. So, one of the everything is so connected and I can never convey it type ideas was the Rashomon effect.
Rashomon.
So, are you familiar?
No, not at all.
Oh, you
That was
said it
just,
like you were. I was
oh
like,
no,
dope.
sorry.
I was like, take it away.
That's just an interesting word. I like it.
It is an interesting word. So, and I will go a lot more into this on tidbits. Like I have a whole ass thing about it, but I'll just touch on it right now because it's cool as fuck. Rashomon's kind of like the idea. Okay, so imagine this. This elephant goes to a part of the world where elephants, and this is me paraphrasing, this isn't the actual context, but it's kind of similar. So imagine if an elephant finds its way into Portland and it is experienced by like 5 blind people who have never seen an elephant before and who are only experiencing the part that's in front of them. So like one person has the ear and they're like, oh, it's like a bat wing. Another person touches the leg and is like, it's like a tree trunk. Another person touches the tail and is like, it's like a paintbrush. Another person touches like the side of it and is like, it's like a leather wall. And one of them like experiences the trunk and is like, it's like a really thick snake. So imagine this elephant then goes and like stomps all over the rose garden and fucks off, right? The garden of roses. Not the Colosseum. Big fucking elephant.
Big.
so the person whose rose garden it is like comes over and is like, hey, the fuck happened? They're like, I don't know, there was like a snake, no it was a bat, no it was a leather wall, no it was a tree, no it was a
Oh,
paintbrush. So it's like that where it seems to me, and I'll leave us with this before we do our super fun game of real or not. It seems to me that that's a pretty good way of like putting everything in a nice little suitcase to explain stuff. Like all
yeah.
of these different interpretations of quantum physics, or even quantum physics itself, or even science, religion, fucking astrology, metaphysics, like every single aspect of us trying to measure, quantify, understand our surroundings are just us touching a different part of the elephant and trying to describe it to somebody who's also never seen an elephant before.
That's perfect. That's perfect. That's the perfect way to put it.
Like we all have, based on our lived experiences, we all have a part of the puzzle, a piece of the puzzle, but we need everyone to come together and like get all the pieces together.
Totally.
Like in that Hank Green book.
Yeah, God, that's such a good book. And so is the one after it. There's such good books.
Fucking
And
amazing.
I'm not a big science, like sci-fi reader, but I love those books. I'm so glad that you turned me on to them, and everyone should read them or listen to them. I listened to them. I got them from the library. They were phenomenal.
From the library. I got them from Audible.
Oh yeah, no, I got them for free from the Multnomah County Library on the Libby app. Yeah, so I get a lot of stuff
Well,
there.
it was called like Then a Strange Thing Happened.
Yes,
It's
yeah,
by Hank Green, and it's
yeah,
got a title similar to what I just said.
yeah.
Yeah, so everyone should check that out. It's a great 2 books. I wish that he would make more. He's actually working on something right now.
Oh,
When I
good.
found that out, oh dude, I got a huge boner when I found that out. I was like, boom. Yeah.
Good.
I will consume anything Hank Green does. He is great. And he reminds me a lot of Todd. My buddy Todd.
Oh,
He used to play, yeah, he looks a lot like Todd, right?
oh, weird. I don't know. I've never
Yeah,
seen what he looks like.
Hank Green?
Yeah.
Oh, he looks like nerdy Todd.
Let's see. Oh yeah, he totally does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learn a lot of stuff from him. He does he does Crash Course, everything, like Crash Course Physics, Crash Course Psychology, Crash Course. Yeah.
He's so sweet.
I listened. He is how I got through school. Just watching
Oh.
Crash Course stuff. Yeah.
Do you want me to share my screen now?
Yes. Okay, so we're gonna play a nice little game of Mandela Effect or not. And we will release this part on Patreon.
Okay, sorry.
You good? Just chilling here with my cats.
Zoom will not be able to record the content of your screen until it is quit. Okay, so okay. So let's go ahead. We'll end this episode. I will close out and then I will get back into the chat room and then I'll be able to record the game.
Cool.
So awesome. Well, that was a deep dive on our take on the Mandela Effect. That was so good. I'm so glad it wasn't just like regurgitated the same stuff.
Yeah, I heard enough of that. That was the thing, is like sometimes when I'm doing the research for stuff like this, I will try to figure out like what's just the surface level knowledge that like everyone gets. Like, okay, here's your lunchbox, here's your quilt, here's your hat. I don't know why those are things that everyone gets. I've never gotten a free lunchbox or a free quilt. But you know, like the 101 stuff.
Yeah.
And then as I get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deviate more from the source material, sometimes I'm like, oh shit, I still have to like, you know, tell people all the 101 stuff that like I didn't know it going into it. So like, why the fuck would these people know it either?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
You know what? We should dub ourselves. You know, there's like the armchair detectives. We should be the disinformation destroyers, because like our research goes deeper, and that's what sets us apart, is because we're not just going to give you, I mean, We might give you a rundown of the same shit, but we won't regurgitate it as fact. If it's not, we'll try to figure it out.
That's true.
On that note, go buy my new book. It just came out. It's called Mirrored Shadows. It's on Amazon now. Audible book will be out in a month. Yay!
Yay!
Stickers are in process. We will have stickers available soon. They're so fucking cool. And if you want to see what comes after this, join our Patreon and have access to the fun game we're going to play next, which is the Pop Culture Mandela True or False. So sign up for our Patreon, join us on all the things, buy my book. I think that's it.
And in order to have access to that, you only really have to give us like $2 a month, or just $2 one time.
Yeah,
you can cancel.
Yeah, $2 one time. You'll have access to everything that we're about to do after this, which also includes a Beavis and Butthead style watching of YouTube playlists. So
I made an entire like 6-hour playlist of nothing but 90s.
Fucking awesome. And then also we're gonna have Repo, the Genetic Opera. That's gonna be that's our movie club movie of the month. So if you give us $2 on Patreon one time, you can watch that too. If you want to join us at a monthly subscription, you can comment with us. I mean, come on.
Well, my buddy Matt joined us for
the Sentinel.
The Sentinel. So if you wanna, we're actually gonna pop that up somewhere soon.
We had some technical difficulties, but we're working it out. So join us.
It is not indicative of what you will get from this point on, but we are still there for some laughs. And if you just want to watch a movie with people, but you don't really want to interact with people, it's a good way to do that.
And
because sometimes I just feel lonely and I want to hear people's voices, but I don't really want to like talk to those voices.
I just need to hear them. Totally. So until next time, which we've got a lot of content we're making for you. We're working hard and we're trying to bring you a little break from the world and from your life and from reality. And we hope that you're enjoying it. We hope it works. Until next time, bye.